number one, I haven't really found just some time to just sit and reflect. So today what I'm going to do is I'm just going to speak to you directly from the heart. And it's the best way that I can convey a message to all of you. We are living in an unprecedented moment. And I think about every day when I wake up and I say, what do I want people to tell about my generation? What stories do I want people to tell about our Muslim American community 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now? And that's very important to me, that there comes a time when somebody will look back and say, MashaAllah, our Muslim American community, they were steadfast, they were organized, they were united, they were working, and they were at the front lines of justice in America. I want young Muslims 50, 60 years from now to look back at moments like 2016 and 2018 and 2020 and 2022 and 2024 and see beautiful Muslim women, Muslim women wearing hijab, our young brothers leading protests for racial justice and economic justice and immigrant justice. One of the things that I always tell young Muslims all the time is that our existence as a people, for some, is extremely controversial. And you all know that about me. I don't even have to say anything. I could wake up in the morning and say, good morning. And my presence as a Palestinian Muslim American, as someone who is a steadfast supporter of the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, and also as someone who's not going to capitulate or cower to any people in power, is in itself very controversial in this moment. But I've learned a lot of lessons, sisters and brothers, when what I do believe wholeheartedly in my heart and why I am who I am and I show up the way that I do, is I believe that Allah loves the truth tellers. I believe that Allah loves those who seek justice. I believe that Allah loves those who choose to be amongst the most marginalized people. I believe Allah loves those who are supporting the most oppressed around the world. I believe Allah loves those who are spending and resources and time to alleviate the suffering of the people of the Uyghur Muslims in China, the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar and who are now in Bangladesh, alleviating the suffering that's happening in Ethiopia, in Somalia, and right now with the recent floods that have happened in Sudan. I believe that Allah loves those who are committing time and efforts to support the people of Palestine, the people of Kashmir, the people of Syria, and the people of Yemen. I believe that Allah loves those who are on the front lines of disaster relief, especially now. Recently, as you all know, there was a hurricane that happened in parts of Texas and Louisiana. And I know that many of our brothers and sisters and many relief organizations have went there and have been to Haiti and have been to many parts of the country where disaster has hit. I believe Allah loves those of us who are on the front lines fighting for the sanctity of Black life in America. So for me, sisters and brothers, we are in a moment where we have to be our whole entire truthful selves, regardless of what those consequences are. Because in this life, sisters and brothers, we live for Allah and only Allah. I don't care what headlines have to say about me. I don't care what leaders have to say about me. I don't care what anyone has to say about me. I understand that what I am doing is in the tradition of our beloved faith and deen, and that is who we are supposed to be in this moment. But I'm going to get to something very important and very critical in this moment. Donald Trump is someone who embodies a lot of the evil that we've been taught about in Islam, a lot of the diseases of the heart, greed and envy and corruption and theft and all kinds of really bad things. And so I believe it is our imperative as Muslim Americans to be part of the efforts to defeat Donald Trump in 2020. And I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. And I know that us as Muslim Americans, we're not a monolithic community. We care about a lot of issues and a lot of us focus on different issues. But it is important, sisters and brothers, to understand how detrimental this administration has been to many marginalized communities. And so for me, I have my own personal views. I'm not excited about this national election, as many of you I know are not as well. But what I do know, sisters and brothers, is that we have an obligation, and Allah gave us talent. Allah gave us a mind and intellect. Allah gave us ways to reason and to work with logic, not just to work with our feelings, sisters and brothers. We have to work with logic. And some of the people in our community who are for me, the most important, the people in our community who really can help us to galvanize and to organize and to mobilize our community are young Muslims. For me, when I think about young Muslims, I think about MSA leaders, I think about college students, I think about those in that age group who I am the most committed to. You're all I got. You are all we got as a Muslim American community. You are our present and you are our future. And so this election is going to be defining for our generation. And a lot of people will say, Sister Linda, this is just another election. It's another, lesser of two evils. And I want to share with you that your sister Linda, who is on the front lines every day, someone I would never lie to our Muslim community. I would never lead you astray unless I believe wholeheartedly what I'm telling you to do is something that is for the benefit of not only our community, but all marginalized communities. Sisters and brothers, one of the things that the office of the president has a lot of control over is the Supreme Court, and to appoint federal judges across the country. Many of you may not know this, but this administration has appointed 1 out of every 4 federal judges who sit on statewide benches and state courts across the country. And people have to understand that we could be setting a very dangerous precedent if we are allowing this office of the president to stack federal judgmentships with people who are against our values, and some even against our faith and against who we are as Muslim Americans, people who are against other marginalized communities. We can't allow that to happen. Sisters and brothers, you already saw what happened to us as a Muslim community when we got up. As you all know, I joined the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, and we sued Donald Trump on the Muslim ban. We sued him 3 days after he announced the Muslim ban. Many other organizations also sued Donald Trump. The National Immigration Law Center, the ACLU, so many organizations around the country sued Donald Trump for the Muslim ban. And suing Donald Trump was about us trying to get to a place where we push our country to uphold its original ideals, to say that families should be reunited, that we should not be targeted for who we are and the faith that we follow. We went all the way up till our community got to the Supreme Court, sisters and brothers. And with only one person who was a little conservative, who kind of went to vote alongside the other conservatives on the Supreme Court, guess what happened to us in the Supreme Court? We lost, sisters and brothers. Our community already knows what it feels like to lose with a conservative Supreme Court. So what I'm asking you to do this election, and I came here for this because I know how important this is to me and to many of you. And many of you are confused. You feel betrayed. Many of you I know supported, the candidate that I loved, which is Senator Bernie Sanders. And we supported Senator Bernie Sanders not because he was a perfect candidate, not because he had no flaws, not because he agreed with everything that we believed in our community. We supported Senator Bernie Sanders because we felt seen by him. We felt like we could sit at a table, that we could have conversations, that we could share our values and our principles as Palestinian Americans, as South Asians, as Arab Americans, as African Americans, as Muslim Americans. We truly felt heard. And that is one of the reasons why I went to the campaign, because I felt like our community deserved a seat at the table, that the issue of Palestine deserved a seat at the table, that we should be fighting for and making sure that one of the top issues in this election season was making sure everyone had health care. I believe in that, sisters and brothers. It's one of my top issues. Health care is a human right. Allah would love us if we were able to figure out how to ensure every human being that resides in our nation had access to health care, that when they were sick, that they were able to get the care that they deserve. And so we didn't get our candidate. Our candidate did not win. And we could have a longer conversation about why that is the case. But the point here is now we are in this situation. And I hope what the situation does that we're in right now is makes us understand how much more work we have to do. Sisters and brothers, nothing comes easy. And you are all students and you have learned a lot about not only the history of this country, but the histories of revolutions and the histories of communities across the world, whether it be in Bangladesh or in Pakistan or in Yemen or in Palestine. These have been long-term, decades and decades and decades of struggle for freedom and liberation. So what I want you to see yourselves as part of a community, as part of a nation where we have to be part of this long-term fight. Many of you have studied the life of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I will never forget Dr. Martin Luther King just a few days before he was assassinated, sisters and brothers. He was apparently a peaceful man, a man who organized nonviolently. I am trained in Kingian nonviolence. And even a nonviolent man, a man who wanted to find harmony and to find justice and equality, he too was assassinated. But you know what he said before he was assassinated? He was telling the people in his last lecture, he said, I may not get there with you, but I see the promised land. And what I say to all of you, my Muslim sisters and brothers, is sometimes I think about 50 years from now where we will be as a community. I don't know if I'm going to be there. I don't know if I will be with the young generation, but I do see a promised land, sisters and brothers. But we have to commit to planting seeds now that we may not see the fruits of that labor. Dr. Martin Luther King did not get to see a lot of the fruits of his labor. Many folks who have organized in many of the nations we are from, and even in this nation, did not see nor reap the benefits of what they were able to work for. So what I'm asking you to do, sisters and brothers, is trust me on this one and trust Allah. Remember, we have a hadith and something, you know, a lot of, you know, different types of places in Islam, whether it be in the Quran, whether it be in the hadith, in the Sunnah, where we are taught oftentimes, people say, Sister Linda, trust Allah. I trust Allah with all of my heart. But what I also do know about our deen, it's a very practical deen. So not only do we trust Allah, but we have been told to tie our camels. And what I'm asking you this year, sisters and brothers, as young people on college campuses, as people with moms and dads and siblings and aunts and uncles and cousins and communities, that we tie our camels. If we allow this administration to get 4 more years, sisters and brothers, we potentially could be harming generations of Muslims to come. In fact, we could be harming our own faith if we have Supreme Court justices who may even question the validity of our deen as a protected class, as we've seen some of them threatened in the past. Many right-wing Republicans and others have threatened that in the past. We have seen anti-Sharia bills literally introduced in many states around the country. So what I'm asking you to do is a few things. If you are not registered to vote, I want you to register to vote, sisters and brothers. Remember, there have been people who sacrificed for our right to vote in this country. And I want you to honor those people. And I want you to find a local candidate in your community. There are so many Muslim Americans. There are so many immigrant women, women of color, Black women, Black people, young people who are running for office across the country, who love us and who respect us and who are aligned with our values and principles of equality and justice for all people. Why don't you support a local candidate? Knock some doors, make some calls. And I'll tell you that when you do that and you are supporting an exciting candidate, what that does is it will help, as they say, the top of the ticket. It will, that enthusiasm we generate on a local level will then expand the electorate. One of the things that's going to happen this election, sisters and brothers, because of the coronavirus and because of voter suppression, is that they are going to try everything that they can to stop us from voting. Not just our communities, but other poor and working class communities, of course, Black communities across the country. And we have to come out in such strong numbers that we need to put it in our mind that somebody's going to try to steal this election. And in order for us to be able to combat that, we need to have, if we can, 100% voter turnout. And I know that that seems impossible, but all we have to do is make our own individual commitment to go to the polls. I want you to register your mom and your dad and your uncle and your auntie and your neighbor next door and your colleagues and your entire MSA. Register them to vote. And then when election day comes, sisters and brothers, I know that sometimes the hardest thing to do is the right thing to do, right? Sometimes we want to do the easy things. And the easy thing would be for us to say, I don't agree with this election. I don't agree with any of the candidates. They don't align. They don't follow, you know what, and just stay home. I'm asking you, sisters and brothers, and I came for this very reason. Trust your sister. I have proven to our Muslim community that I'm willing to die for the things that I believe in. Many of you know that I'm talking to you all the way from Louisville, Kentucky. I've moved to Louisville, Kentucky because I believe in justice for Breonna Taylor. And I believe that we cannot live in a country where a Black woman cannot live safely inside of her home. And so, you know me, I will never ask you to do something that I myself am not doing. So I am imploring you, sisters and brothers, to join me in this election, to register to vote, to get out to the polls. And I promise you that Sister Linda will organize mass demonstration, mass protests, and I'm committed to holding a Biden-Harris administration accountable. I don't want the invites to the White House. I'm not going to go to the iftars. I am going to be on the street every single day, defending our rights as Muslim Americans, defending marginalized communities, and building the political will for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris to do right by our communities. And remember, sisters and brothers, as our brother Nipsey Hussle said, this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And the question to our Muslim communities is, are you committed to work for decades to come to ensure that our community could live with true dignity and full justice in these United States of America? Thank you so much to MSA and MSA National, all the great work that you do. I look forward to coming back to your college campuses, inshallah, in the next year, so we could build and organize together and build the type of community that we can all be proud of. Assalamu alaikum.